guess just start from the beginning.
Okay. So this is the summer. I think I was only 16. Maybe the summer I was 17. No. It was definitely the summer I was 16. So um, I worked at a pool as a lifeguard and a head lifeguard. And this one day, there was a group of boys, and they were probably 13 or 14, but some pretty big boys. There were three of them, who decided it would be a good idea to pee into a bottle, like an empty soda bottle, and they put the lid on it, but not all the way. Oh, wait, this isn't how it happened. Okay, let me go back. So the three teenage boys, again, 13, 14-ish, were beating up a 10-year-old in the park that they were friends with, but I guess frenemies, it turns out. And they were punching him and being really, really aggressive. And so my mom, who was the manager, went out into the park and kind of broke up the fight and said to those boys that, that was it. They could go home and never come back for the rest of the summer. Anyway, so the day goes on. It's probably about 30, 45 minutes later. The three boys come back down the hill. And we saw them coming. And so we were going to go out and tell them that they, remind them that they had to be off the park premises as well. Because when they're kicked out of the pool, they're kicked out of the whole park. At that time, they had made it to the bottom of the hill and they had peed into a bottle, like an empty soda bottle. And they had put the lid on the bottle, not tight enough, but just sort of on it. So that when they threw it over the wall of the pool, it would hit the deck and explode urine everywhere, which obviously is disgusting. So they went ahead and did that before we could catch them. And then, of course, they ran. So I go out and I run out into the park and I shouted up the hill at them, you're gone for the summer. You can't be on the park premises. Don't come back or we'll call the police. So they leave. Gross. We get the Clorox. We clean up. Whatever. We think it's done. It's not done. I am on the guard stand. So I am surveying the pool later on in the day. And I see those three hooligans coming back into the park up the hill. At this point in the story, it's important to note my physical appearance. So I'm 16, so I'm not quite my full adult height, but probably pretty close. I'm at least 5'7", maybe 100 pounds. So I look like a giant string bean. Also, because of a horseback riding accident earlier in the summer, I have torn ligaments and tendons in my right ankle, and I'm wearing an air cast, work sandals, a hot pink tankini, and lifeguard shorts. And I'm walking up the hill because I'm going to tell them that they need to leave the premises and we're calling the police. So I'm going up the hill and they see me coming and they start running. And I don't really know what possessed me at this point, perhaps my keen sense of justice, but I pursued and raced up this hill. And then kind of it goes into a neighborhood behind the hill. It's not the nicest neighborhood, but I wasn't really paying attention to that fact as I was chasing them down the hill. They ran into somebody's house, and I assumed obviously that it was one of their houses. And so I looked around in the backyard, couldn't find them. I assumed that was the end of my journey. So I shouted, you can't come back to the park. Don't come back to the pool. If you come back, we're calling the police. I go to leave, and this woman comes out of the house and says to me in a rather thick accent from my hometown, 3 teenagers just walked right into my house. And I said, yeah, I mean, they're not supposed to be at the park. They're in trouble. I assumed she knew who they were. Turns out she did not know who they were. They just ran into someone's house who had the door open. And so I said, don't you know who they are? And she said, hell no, I don't know them. I'm going to get the shotgun. And I was like, oh boy. So then I shouted, did you hear that? She's going to get her shotgun. And of course they ran out the front door. So now I'm in hot pursuit again. And somehow we get through this neighborhood, kind of winding through, and we end up in this big field that's like a pseudo park, in behind some of these houses. So it's opened up a little bit. and I can see all three of them again, because before I could only see this, slowest one, the one I was catching up to. And I can see all three of them again, and the one in front is winded, and he is stopped, and his hands are on his knees, and he is panting. The one in the back puts his hands up like I'm going to shoot him, and he says, all right, all right. So I did not even stop running. I just grabbed him by the back of the shirt and dragged him with me. Went and got the second one, grabbed him, sat them both forcefully down on a picnic table that was there, got the third one, the last one. And I don't really know what I was going to do. I guess I was going to sit them down and have a conversation with them about why their actions were unjust. I hadn't thought that far ahead. Mostly I just wanted them to be caught. The manager, my mom, has finally caught up. She's somehow following the shouts of, "We give up!" My mother comes around the corner, and here I am with these three big guys sort of by the scruffs of their shirts. Like, I got him! I got him! And she's like, great, the police are coming. And they were, kicked out of the park for the rest of the summer and the rest of the pool year. I couldn't walk for like a week because my ankle was like the size of a softball. And it was kind of the story of the summer at the pool, how hilarious it was. And the next year, I still worked there in the summertime, and one of the three boys came back because he wasn't expelled anymore. He was there with a bunch of his friends, and clearly our interaction had stuck with him because he said to his friend, like, "Oh, you see her? Watch out. She can run fast." But it was certainly an interesting chapter of my life. And I think it also speaks well to my personality of writing social injustice, and also while wounded and wearing hardly any clothing, and also just kicking butt and taking names.
Nice.
The end.